A face that may be not that well known in South Africa, but is becoming more and more common on our roads all the time. Mahindra. You can see the nice almost double grille effect over here. Daytime running lights, which are important over there. Fog lights down at the bottom. You come around to nice 17-inch mag wheels. You've got cladding around the wheel arches over there, because this is the large SUV in the Mahindra range in South Africa, called the XUV500. Very unusual door handles over here, and you've got push button lock and unlock just over there on the top range model, which this one is. But they are unusual, different. But so what's wrong with different? Nice big back doors as well over here, and you come right round to the rear to, of course, the boot area. And this is where, of course, things get interesting, like they always do, because this is a 7-seater, as you can see. Now, the only problem with all 7-seaters in my book is the fact that when you've got all 7 seats in use, excuse me, there's your boot, if you want to call it that. So if you're traveling with a family, you either need a trailer or you can't have a 7-seater. But you could do 6-seater like this, or of course drop this one as well, and you've got a massive boot. So you do have choices. A neat little touch that I found is really nicely done for the tools over there. Very neat, very practical, very nice. And while we're in the back over here, if you have a look across there, you'll see there's even an aircon fan setting for the back passengers, the ones that are really in the cattle class of this vehicle. And also for them, you can see they have their own cup holders, and they even have a little storage area over there when there are probably youngsters sitting right in the back. Closing the tailgate now, you'll see this is the W10 version, which means it is the top of the range luxury one and top spec wise. And yes, automatic 6-speed automatic gearbox powering this one with a 2.2 litre diesel engine, putting out 103 kilowatts and 330 newton meters of torque. Diffuser effect down at the bottom of the base over here even, which is quite interesting, but very neat, looks very practical. It is a pretty large vehicle. Let's check it out inside. Moving into the middle row of seats, as you can see I am, which folds 2/3, 1/3. Well, not bad legroom for me over here in the middle. And the smaller part, as you can see, folds and tumbles to give you access right to the cheap seats in the back, as I always call them. But you can see decent legroom even for the rearmost seats. I don't think youngsters in particular would complain. You've got leather throughout, and I mentioned the controls for aircon right at the back, which I think is a nice feature as well. So I don't think anybody in the middle row or the back row would have any complaints whatsoever. This is a good, largish family SUV in every respect of the word. You've even got vents in the door pillars over here for the middle row of seats. So you've got that, which I think is a nice touch as well. Let's check it out, of course, from the driver's point of view. From the driver's seat, this is the view you get, of course, of the dashboard, which is a little bit different, somewhat unusual, but also, funny enough, you're not going to get the info that I normally give you straight away from here, where I'll show you in a minute. Your steering wheel, of course, has your cruise control over there. You do have your infotainment over here, all pretty standard. You've got, of course, your electric windows over there, and the driver's seat is electrically adjustable, which is a useful feature. Something that is a little bit more unusual is on top of the dash, you do have a nice storage hidey hole over there. I don't know why more manufacturers don't put those in, quite honestly. You come down now to a pretty small infotainment screen, but it does give you what you want. And I mentioned, for example, look there. Average, can we call it 11 kilometers per litre, 10.9, which means we've averaged about 9 litres per 100 for this entire test. Taking into account the size of the vehicle, I don't think that's that bad at all. So you've got to take that into account as well. And we've done about 400 kilometers on this test. Another nice thing is there is a reverse camera on the screen as well. So those are nice features that you do get over here. The dash is very plasticky, but you've got to take into account the price, which we'll come to in a few moments. Another interesting feature is you do actually have a double cubbyhole. So nice storage space over there. I think it's quite important too. You come down over here and you have a good old button fest, as I think you may want to term it. You can see that's the, for example, that's where I got the info screen. As soon as I take it out of reverse, you can see the info screen, and you can see you can just change it to various items on the screen over there. You can do those things. You can move it to, of course, app, and that's the radio, etc., etc. There's phone, there's navigation. It has got, so it's got all the features you want, but as I said, quite a button fest, and not as much on, that works from the steering wheel, for example. Below it comes the aircon system, and I mentioned earlier the rear aircon as well, separate rear aircon, which I think is very, very useful. You've got, of course, you can turn off the ESP if you want, and you've got a downhill descent control as well, which is a nice feature to have. I mentioned the push button for entry, the keyless entry, and there's, of course, your keyless start over there, engine start button there. Good old-fashioned handbrake, not a problem at all. And again, old-fashioned is the gear shift itself, which nowadays the majority of cars do not have that style anymore, but it's really not a problem to me. It's a 6-speed automatic gearbox. The shifts generally are pretty smooth, but I did find that it could hunt a little bit when we were on the open road, in particular, in certain circumstances. And I found that a tiny bit irritating at times when it was hunting between 5th and 6th. Not a major problem, but it was something I noticed. You've seen the space in the back, whether it's a 5-seater or 7-seater or in between, it doesn't really matter. It certainly is a pretty big vehicle, this one, and I think that's important. Now, the standard feature on this particular model is the sunroof, a single sunroof, but it is nice. Whether you want it just for the extra light or you want to open the roof, of course, a choice you can make. Or manual, but so what? The price on this vehicle, I think I'm going to mention right now, which is a very important factor, is 437,999, call it 438,000 Rand. So it is very, very market competitive, actually very reasonable in the market. There are other 7-seaters around that tend to come in at higher prices. We all know about those. And then, of course, there are lots of 5-seater SUVs that would probably be more in this price category. So it is an important factor if you feel you are going to need 7 seats at some stages. What I did notice was, and taking into account that the XUV500, this particular model, has been around for a while. It's not a new model. So I do find, for example, the instrumentation, the center stack over here, the infotainment, somewhat dated. And I think I have to term it that way. It does feel like it's time for a new generation on the interior in particular. But that's something I'm sure Mahindra, if you look at the new XUV300, for example, has certainly moved the game on, and I'm pretty sure the 500 will follow soon. I don't think it'll be far behind. But the point of Mahindra overall is they're known to be as tough as nails. They're known to be very, very strong vehicles and go forever. That diesel engine is a tough one. It's been around for a long time as well. It's used in some of the other vehicles, and it certainly will continue to give good service. Everybody knows that. Mahindras are tough vehicles. They look it, they feel it, and they are it. And I think that's very, very important to take into account. You've got 6 airbags for safety as well, so you've got all of that as well, all thrown into the mix. Mahindra in South Africa so far have certainly proved themselves and proved their reputation, even more so with the Buckies. And now, I said just now, the 300, the XUV300 has certainly moved the game on when it comes to fit, finish, quality, looks, style, and all those things. The 500 is, to me, somewhat a little bit more utilitarian, but it certainly fills a need if this is the space you require. Interesting, probably left field choice at this stage on the market, although I think Mahindra would like to get themselves to a stage of no longer being left field. But if you need a big vehicle like this, you need the space. The big thing that also comes through with it is because it's a big vehicle, because it has a long wheelbase, it's certainly very smooth, very comfortable on the road, loves an open road cruise at the 120, 130 mark. I can tell you it's as smooth and comfortable as you'd like. Handles actually surprisingly nicely for such a big vehicle too, and that's important on the road. You're looking for something in this sort of range, you need to check this one out. It's up to you. It certainly is the budget alternative in a market today, and that counts for so many people. For Motor Matters, I'm Eleanor, and I'll see you next time.